to wrestle with this thing that this board and the previous board have spent countless hours. We've spent money with architects. We have spent money to have things looked into. I think some of the other comments were on there about, well, why don't you put it down at the middle school with Little Flashes and with Champion Athletic Club? You know, I guess we're not very smart. We never thought about that. That study was done 2 years ago. Okay, we did. We hired consultants to look at every piece of property in this township that had anything going for it that could be used for this. That includes the property down on Alva, the baseball field, that complex was looked into. At the time, there were some conversations with the school. They were friendly conversations. There were no problems with that. Fact of the matter, there's not enough room at that complex to put soccer along with CAC and not have to tear out 2 or 3 of the baseball fields. Of course, Champion Athletic Club wasn't a real favor, you know, but at the same time, as they were not happy about it, they said, okay, if that's what we need to do, that's what we're going to do. And then the costs came in on making that property usable to put soccer fields on, and here comes the bad parts. Probably not too many people know this, but I'll tell you, when they tore the school down, they didn't do a great job. So every place where that old school was up at the top, when you go down Alva and you see the big hump, that's full of broken pieces of concrete and all kinds of other debris from that. It all needs to come out. Do you remember how many loads of dirt they said they needed there? It's astronomical. So at that point, that property becomes, it's not cost effective to do any longer. So as other people have complained about moving soccer, the plan, moving soccer added roughly $7,000 to the project of moving the park out back. 7,000. At that point, that's what needs to happen. If we're going to build a park out there, soccer needs to go there for 2 reasons. Number one, because that's where the park's gonna be. Number 2, because it frees up the property at Central that we could then sell and roll that money into the project out back. So I, as a trustee, see no reason for us to have property out back and property down there and not utilize one or the other. We clearly are not gonna utilize both. So there's no reason for us to have both. Now, as we continue to seek grants again for things like an administration building, yes, that's what we're doing. We continue to seek grants nonstop. That's one of the things that we do. That's one of the things our department heads do. Creates the next set of problems at the central school property. First of all, want to come in there and say we allocate the 50,000 and we come in there and we build a pavilion and put in 2 pickleball courts. And next week we get a phone call and says, hey, guess what? The grant that you guys put in for the administration building, phase 1 of, I don't see it here anymore, but phase 1 of that project has been awarded. You got the grant, guys. Then we have to look at the community and say, hey, that $50,000 we just put in that property down there, the bulldozer will be down there tonight at 6. Start your game a little early because we're dozing the pickleball courts back under again so we can put up an administration building. I think that would be met with some harsh words for everybody. So they're already cramped for space at the central property. So what I'm saying is this, that those that are in here, those of you that are watching, all this park talk again, if it's parks that you want, don't blame your trustees that you don't have them. We don't sit up here and tell you you cannot have a park. You want a splash pad? I don't care. Doesn't make a bit of difference to Doug. I bet Rex doesn't care either. What do you want? It's how much you want to pay for what you want your park to be. That's what this comes down to. It's not up to us. We don't make that decision. That's up to you guys. So.
He brings up a good point. All you hear about is splash pads. If you go around in Trumbull County, communities and cities that have splash pads also have a water purification plant, potable water. Champion were to put in a splash pad, could you imagine what our water bill would be at, what is water now? $9 and some cents a thousand?
Too much.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I just say double.
Too much.
yeah, I mean,
You'll be glad you
you know,
don't
there,
in about
and
3 months.
what irritates me most is you get all this chatter on social media, and there's so many variables to take into consideration. Most people, they pay their taxes, and I get it, you know, you get the bill, you pay it, oh, boy, I pay a ton in taxes. But they don't differentiate in the amount the school gets, in this case, out of $1,043 tax duplicate, the schools gets $634.56. Out of that same tax duplicate, the township gets $183.88.
$183, we plow your roads,
Roughly 16-17% of your
gives
taxes.
you police, paramedics.
I don't
at
think
your
people
house,
realize
on fire.
that. I really don't. Or they wouldn't be making these comments on Facebook the way they do.
We're not selfish.
No.
I don't care what they say, we're not selfish. It's just, this is what it comes down to. There's a percentage of people in this community that want a park. And there's a percentage of people in this community that adamantly do not want a park. So, as we have recommended in the past, I will say it again. If parks are what the community feels that they need, it's not up to Doug or Rex or Bill. It's up to you guys. We've said it before, we have made packets to give to people that say they want to start a park committee. If that's what you want to do, stop up and see Courtney. Be more than happy. I think she's got some prepared now. I should be happy to give those to you, and you can set out on your journey and get your committee put together. You know, and we'll start that ball moving, because like I said, it's not up to us to tell you no. It's up to you guys to say yes or no. This isn't a trustee decision. We have the property, we have the plans. We don't have money. The money comes from you. It doesn't come from the township, because we don't have money to give for this project. We have some money put away right now, we do. We've got $54,000 in the park fund. We've got ARP money that there's been no real decisions made yet what's gonna happen. Here's the problem with the ARP money, guys. We can't sit on it. We cannot put that $250,000 in a bank account and sit on it until there's enough money to move forward. If we don't spend it, we're going to have to give it back. So, keep that in mind as you blast us for pulling money from the park that we're not ready and able to do right now. So, think about it. And get your committees together. We'll support your committees. Like I said, this isn't a Doug thing. It's not personal with me. I'm sure it's not personal with Bill either. He's a look at him. There's a fine pickleball specimen right there, ready to hit the courts. But all joking aside, I can't emphasize that enough, that, you know, everyone's looking at the township. Everybody wants more from their township, and you just heard these numbers. And here's another news flash, I gotta tell you, there's gonna be discussions tonight at some point for levies for your police department and for your fire department. There is no possible way for us to keep pushing that down the road without money to support those departments. You guys can't support your homes on what you did 2 years ago. We're trying to support a fire department, a police department with money that's old money. We're broke, we really are. And if it wasn't for ARP money and for CARES Act money that we were able to get a free ambulance with, we were able to do some other projects, get some police cars, take these guys out of cars that were, you know, $250,000 cruisers. These guys are out there trying to run to a call at 100 miles an hour. Yeah, I don't think I would. But as I say that, keep in mind that our road department has dump trucks that they're taking care of your roads that are 30 years old or more. They're gonna need replaced. We still have an aging fleet of police cars that need replaced. We have one of our second out fire truck. We have 2 fire trucks. One of them we replaced 2 years ago. We tried for grants for 3 years for that. We were turned down every year. Finally, we were to a point we had to do it. We bought a fire truck. Now, your second fire truck sitting down there is a 1992 I think.
97.
What is it?
97.
97 is what the pump tanker is?
Number 21,
97, right? Yeah.
brand new
Tanker
big
21,
cash
97.
for
Yeah. It was a good truck in 1997. It's
Still a
not so
good
good
truck.
today. But that's what we're using to protect you guys. Because you heard the tax dollars. Where's our tax money go? It's here. You're sitting in, it's your schools. They're eating up your tax dollars. That's the decision that the voters of this township made. We put a big emphasis on education for our children. It's paid off. Can't say it hasn't. Our kids do well. They graduate, they do so well, they leave and don't come back. But, you know,
It's something to think about.
so it was a good investment, and I'm not finding fault with the schools. That's the direction our community wanted to go. We made that investment, paid off for us. But this is the next decisions that we have to make for this township. As you hear these dollars, it should frighten you. I mean, $183,000 or $183 of your taxes come to the township, and that's, you couldn't contract a private guy to plow your driveway for that for a season, so think about that. That's all I got on it. Thank you for the floor, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Let's move on to the,
Question?
I'm sorry.
Question?
Yes.
So what is it okay? So what is the cost of the park down by baseball field?
Down-
I've never heard that number.
The park down by where?
Here.
Here, what's the,
It's about, well, in 2021, it was 1.1 to 1.4 million. Now,
Okay.
those numbers, of course, have gone up, not changing anything associated with the park, just what the cost of doing business, so we would say probably 1.4, 1.5 today.
so regardless of the study you had done that says that's the best place to put it, that sounds completely unrealistic to be done because of the cost.
Right, so that's why this was done in stages. So that is, that number is for everything. So what we're talking about, Rex has it.
Here it is. That's the proposal. It goes in phases. Phase one goes on through and it's, upside down here. It's estimated here $1.1 to $1.4 million. Now, design work, if necessary, is not included, so there's engineering costs also.
But I didn't bring them.
Is there an estimate for that?
Usually you
You
can
have
add
those?
15
That's
to
the purple
20%
folders they
for
have.
engineering.
Okay,
Rick and Tom have the purple folders. Those are the park folders.
Oh, okay, okay.
there were no numbers in this, that's right. So, okay, but even the phase one cost estimate, I mean, 450,000 seemed unrealistic at this point too.
Yeah, and we realized that as a board, and we broke it down further. There was a proposal that big cost item is the sanitary sewer. It would be coming from the back that tree line towards the bike trail and extended up, and we proposed that it would be extended up and capped and not utilized until such time we have money for the concession stand and the restrooms. It was proposed to move the soccer fields in there, the parking area. Along with that, there's storm retention basin that has to be constructed. And,
Is there wetland concerns with this property?
pardon?
Wetland?
No, those have all been delineated.
That
That's
study
already
was
done.
completed.
That's already done.
Okay.
So we were thinking if we get that footprint in there, and this is another thing that people don't take into consideration. You know, they wanna leave that thought and go to central. But if you establish a footprint, you start the park, it is a big, big plus in that grant application to get additional monies that you have a park started and you want to continue towards its completion. They award points for that. Okay, they started, they took it upon themselves and used money and got one started. We'll help them out.
And here's the other thing with the property out back versus the central property when it comes to grants. The property out back is contiguous to Metro Parks property. So that property touches the bike trail. So that possibly adds points to a grant or
wanted to get the sanitary sewer in, one of the first things is because we don't wanna put soccer fields in there and then come back and have to run the sanitary sewer through.
Dig it all up.
completed soccer.
You know, and if we're gonna do anything at all, if everybody decides, you know what, I don't wanna pay anything for this park at all, then we leave it where it's at, we keep making small improvements in it. But keep in mind, you know, I've heard people say, well, let's put a walking track around what we already have. Well, that's great until you're in a soccer game, you can't. See, what about the percentage of people in our community who don't have kids that play soccer? Think about them for a second. So Grandma and Grandpa Jones wanna go walk up there tonight, but there's a soccer game going on, they can't even get in and find a place to park. So,
You know,
how's that, I mean, because that's what that, if you look at the central school property on a soccer night, that's what it is. We have a playground there that's by far not great, but it's what we have. But if you have soccer going on, it's difficult to do anything else there, I mean, it just is what it is. So,
I don't think there'd be room for a walking path, because when I was president of that league, the parents, they were squished in between two soccer fields. What is that, U10 and U14? There's maybe 25 feet there. And, you know, I mean, you put a walking path around there, it's gonna push it further and further. And there's no place to sit for the parents to watch the games, grandparents. I mean, it's tight now down there.
so that's where we're at, that's your parks tonight.
So, okay, so I guess realistically then, you're saying there would need to be a levy, would that levy be, have an end date? I mean, if you're gonna propose a levy, I mean, once you put the levy on, then what? You know, it's on there forever?
It would have to be if that's the road that we're gonna go down, because you can never stop it, because that's your maintenance money. Once, if you put 800 of the 1.1 million into it out there and then suddenly say, well, no more levy, we can't maintain it. You know, so those are the concerns on us, because this falls on us. We jump the gun and say, hey, let's do this, and then 3 years, we look like Bezetta saying, hey, the park's closed indefinitely because we can't maintain it.
Has there been estimates on what the maintenance cost would be?
Totally dependent on how many phases this get constructed. 30,000 on the low end, and up from there depending on how many phases of that are completed. Now, the good news about that is that if you move it from Central down here, we're already absorbing some maintenance costs at Central. But Champion Youth Soccer takes over the maintenance in what, July?
June 1st to October 1st.
So then we don't have very much involvement in it at all at that point. Champion Youth Soccer does, but it's still, you know what I mean? We are going to maintain property either back here at Central indefinitely. So it just depends on what we're maintaining. It's totally relevant to the cost to do it.
So, 2 questions. You mentioned if you don't need the central property for soccer, you would sell it.
Correct.
We would have a footprint for our proposed administration building.
Yeah, we would keep a
cut
small
that out.
section of it.
Yeah, that was my second question, so you would keep part of it for that.
And those drawings are complete, and it shows the amount of property it would take to support, what was drawn up,
So with those funds, if you sold that property, if the park was in these phases, would it all be allocated to that?
that would be my vote would be yes.
Depending on- depending
You're
on
looking at
use.
$5 to $6 million, and that was 2 years ago to do the administration building and everything, and the costs are not doing nothing but rising.
Well, wait.
That'd be
so
additional.
I got 2 answers there. The money would go to the park, or the money would go to the administration building?
Okay, so the only way that we're going to be building police stations, fire stations, or administration buildings is strictly 100% grant money. Now, even at a 30% match of $5 million, it's a daunting task. Is it doable? Yeah, it is, but, my thoughts would be at that point, once that property's broke out, any money that the central school property brought in the sale, I would believe should be rolled in
Yeah,
to
that would,
park projects out back,
that would be
hundred
up,
percent of it.
that would be up to the seated board of trustees at the time of sale.
Any idea what that section of property would get?
Over $100,000, that's for sure.
I'd say two and a quarter was the estimate that I've heard, but I don't know. We've,
So the administration building wouldn't impede access to that property, for
it
example?
would be clear up the north line where the buses come in and out, it would be clear up there. That's what it was spec'd at. I mean, those things can change a little bit, certainly wouldn't put it right in the middle of it, but, so it would either be at the north end or the south end.
You thinking commercial property or residential?
I would think it's commercial. I mean, that's what I foresee it be used as,
I
but
think it's residential right now. But that's,
It makes a difference in price.
You know, somebody in the
does.
zoning committee, maybe we can get that changed.
and that's possible, it's on 45, and that would be a zoning thing, a request. If the trustees.
Maybe some light manufacturing could go in there.
What's that?
Maybe some light manufacturing could go in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks.
Classic callback.
Yeah.
Put a used car dealership in there,
What's that?
sell cars.
Okay, so you say, okay, form a committee and get this going. But what, I mean, for those of us that have never formed a committee on anything governmental or township wise, what really does that mean? Just so we form a committee and we give an opinion?
Well, no, actually, it would have to be turned over to the committee. It wouldn't be, through the board. And I'm speaking as a non-attorney. But this would have, the board would have to turn that property over to the organization.
Well, I'm not even talking about that, I'm just talking about for this whole project. You know, you said form a committee and get it going, but what's that mean? I've no,
The committee would be independent of the township.
I understand that, but, you know,
If you're serious and you're looking for it, I'll get you the answers that you need. I will, I'll make phone calls tomorrow, and I will get you
because
exactly
in
what
this
you need.
packet, there is a list of, I don't know, half a dozen people or so that would be on a committee.
If we're interested, yes.
That, you know, this was 18 months ago.
Correct.
But I mean, you have all the numbers already, so it sounds like to me the committee is gonna be formed to sell the community on what we're doing. what
That's
the
exactly
committee's-
what it is, Tom, 100%. You know, because I said it before, and I'm gonna say it again, this project, the Board of Trustees has taken this as far as they possibly can. We cannot move this another inch. That's just where we're at. We have done our due diligence, we have done all the homework, we've done, it's done, it's ready. Now, it's up to you guys of whether or not you want to do this. I will tell you, this was tried years ago, they put a park levy on years ago, I don't know how many people in this room know that. It was defeated a little over 2-1. I think it lost, was it like 73%? It was a huge-
67%.
67? It was a big defeat. At that time, that levy was put on to buy property to establish a park that would have been just to the west of the athletic club complex. I think they wanted to buy 250 acres in there, I mean, give or take. My memory's not that good anymore, but that's what it was over. They wanted to buy that property, hold hands with the school, and create that all down there, which made a lot of sense at the time. And it got killed before it got off the ground. So, I think, after that happened, I think maybe the next few trustee boards were a little gun shy after seeing that. I don't know how a levy would do. I will tell you that the Metro Parks levy in Champion Township did well. Failed miserably, everywhere else, but Champion Township, Jim, did it pass in Champion Township?
I have no idea. I didn't pass it.
I think it did, didn't it?
I thought it did.
I think it did too. So, maybe, the community's ready to do something. I don't know. I can't speak for the community. I can just bring you the
No, it failed.
information.
Actually, now I think about it, it failed in Champion.
It failed?
I think it got everywhere, didn't it?
No, it passed in cities.
I thought it failed in the cities and passed here,
I think it failed in Champion.
but it was fairly close, wasn't it?
It was really close, it was really,
The numbers were
446, 50, something like that.
The numbers were fairly good on it, but, I said, if you wanna grab this thing and,
Champion was 1,705 for, 2,111 against.
It was close.
400, it's pretty close.
so, from understanding from what you guys are saying, it all depends on the money and if the taxpayers wanna pay the money. Are you considering to try to put a levy on to
That's
see,
the
because
only
if we
option.
don't have a levy and we don't have money,